out answers to those questions. As we get up with you, we got football covered over here. I got Traeger, I got J-Mac. Shefty
Let's
is
go.
in-house. Get your backpack back, left the backpack up in the cafeteria. Either it was yours or we stole someone else's and brought it downstairs. We'll find out later. Meanwhile, we got Big Perk and Monica ready to roll on the hoops this morning. Let's do it. Today is a huge day in the National Football League. The franchise tag deadline is 8 hours away, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Let's run the hurry up here, Shefty, and go through some of huge decisions that are on the table today. Daniel Jones could be one of the first big pieces of the quarterback puzzle of the offseason. What do we need to know?
Greeny, they're meeting today to decide whether or not to place the franchise tag or the transition tag on Daniel Jones. In the end, ultimately, my guess would be that if they can't get a deal done by 4 o'clock today, that they'll put the transition tag on Daniel Jones, which will allow another team to sign him to an offer sheet if it chooses, but the Colts would have the ability to match. That's the transition. Franchise tag, they would have to compensate the Colts with 2 first-round picks. Nobody's going to sign Daniel Jones as a franchise player. So that is a big decision they're going to make in Indy. My guess is the transition tag winds up on Daniel Jones.
And that means that one quarterback, an interesting one in a lot of ways, would become part of the quarterback carousel because teams out there, if they really wanted him, could try and find a way to get him. He's got the Achilles that he suffered in November. What do we know about his health?
He's coming back, and the hope is that he'll be back ready for the start of the season. There's also another team that's lingering there, and as Schefter lays out, the transition tag means someone else can make an offer. The Colts just would have the last opportunity to match that offer. So who would think Daniel Jones? Now, at home you might be like, well, the Jets need a quarterback, and the Cardinals might need a quarterback. I don't see that. The team I would watch as a possible long shot, but also one that could be angling here, the Minnesota Vikings. Remember, Daniel Jones spent half the season with the Minnesota Vikings a year ago. Not only did Sam Darnold leave that building, Daniel Jones left that building. I think the Vikings were surprised the Colts gave Daniel Jones the money that he got last offseason. Keep an eye on the Vikings if the transition tag is applied.
So the Achilles is what complicates all of this. Because I could sit here and I could ask you, J-Mac, is Daniel Jones the right move for Minnesota, or can he put the Colts over the top? Who knows what would have happened with them last year if he stays healthy. But the injury is obviously such an X factor.
And that's what makes it tricky, I think, for him in Indianapolis to come to a long-term deal, because you're looking at this and you love what Daniel Jones was able to do early in the season. But as you're trying to figure out what that number is, I think for Daniel Jones, you're looking at it and you're saying, well, I have some leverage here because Anthony Richardson, they're talking about trading him. I'm the quarterback that they need to come back, in the sense of you have a head coach in Steichen and a general manager in Ballard that they want to win this year. So bringing in someone new, him having to learn Steichen's system and now starting from the ground again, for Daniel Jones, I'm your best chance to win this upcoming season.
And I think when you survey the quarterback landscape, there aren't a lot of logical landing spots that would appeal to Daniel Jones, that would be interested in him. There aren't many matches. The one that just lingers out there is the Vikings, but they are in a difficult cap situation, so it's hard to work that out if he's got a tag, especially on a transition tag where the Colts would have the final say. In addition, Indianapolis wants to keep its wide receiver, Alec Pierce. So somehow if they can get a deal done with Jones today, they could tag Pierce, or they could tag Jones and then work on a deal with Pierce. But I think either way, the Colts are determined to make sure that both players are back in the building.
It's actually ironic, and another GM and letting Saquon walk. We know what happened
there.
Look
how well that worked out.
Exactly. So now Alec Pierce is kind of in that Saquon role. Not comparing the two players, but they have to make these financial decisions. There's been a gymnastics in Indianapolis.
And I think the part that Schefter brings up is so important, that transition tag, because now for Daniel Jones as a free agent, you're negotiating with just Indianapolis, and you don't know what other teams may be willing to offer you. So if you're Indianapolis Colts, you're saying, all right, well, Daniel Jones, go out there, see who else wants to sign you to an offer sheet. So if it is the Minnesota Vikings, or if it isn't, now you can come back to the table and say, hey, well, what you think is out there isn't actually there, and now both sides may be more willing to make a deal.
I want to go back in time, and obviously, again, the injury is such a complicating factor in all of this, but when the Colts went out and made the trade they did for Sauce Gardner, all of the conversation sitting at this table was, well, this is a sign that they are married to Daniel Jones. He's their quarterback. They're not thinking about the draft and all the rest of that. That changes. Is the injury the only reason for that? Is that the thing that's holding up?
I don't think anything's changed. It's just the fact that his contract is coming up here. Right. Today's the tag window deadline. They have to decide what they want to do. It hasn't changed their desire to have him back, view him as their quarterback. There's no difference other than the fact that they have to decide how they want to handle it by today. And again, just a technicality. The difference in price between the franchise tag and the transition tag, $45 million for a franchise tag quarterback, $37 million for a transition tag quarterback. $8 million is good enough to buy you a starter at another position when you're trying to upgrade your roster.
So it's a big decision the Colts have to make today, and it will have a ripple effect. Let's move on to another one, Schefter. Trey Hendrickson, and this is one I feel like we've been talking about forever. What updates do you have on him and the Cincinnati Bengals?
Listen, he is waiting to see whether or not the Bengals place the franchise tag on him today. They have not communicated that to him. He's waiting to hear. There haven't been any conversations. Now, I would think that if you're the Colts and Daniel Jones, for example, you're in contact. You know exactly what's coming. Trey Hendrickson sitting back in Florida, waiting to hear one way or another what the Bengals want to do with him. And again, I think the Bengals have checked around the league with the idea to see if teams would be interested in trading for Trey Hendrickson, in which case they would tag him to trade him. But I don't think that they've sensed a lot of interest in trading for Trey Hendrickson that way, so they have to make the decision about what to do today by 4 o'clock. My guess, and it's a guess because you don't know what the Bengals is, he doesn't get tagged and he's allowed to leave as a free agent. But I know the Bengals have made calls about the tag and trade option, and I don't think they've heard exactly what they would have wanted to hear.
But let's underline that last part of that. In the event, so this is what's at stake today, if in the next 7 hours and 53 minutes we don't hear that he has received one of the two tags,
correct,
then Trey Hendrickson is a free agent.
And one of the top free agents available, and somebody that will generate a lot of interest on the open market.
We know it's a business, but gosh, if I'm Cincinnati, let the man walk. I mean, this has been such a crazy 2 years.
How do you not know at this point?
At this point, just let the guy explore his future.
Free Trey Hendrickson.
Free Trey Hendrickson. I'm going to wear the T-shirt through Times Square today. No one will acknowledge what I'm talking about. But
not at all.
Free Trey Hendrickson. Let the guy go. And you know, it would make a lot of sense. Obviously, we look at the Dallas Cowboys, who are going to be looking to not only hire and sign players at a bargain level, but also a player like this who is an established pass rusher. Hendrickson will have a market, and gosh, for his sake, for a player that has been playing in such conflict and strife with his owner and his team, just let the man walk.
So for people, because the Bengals defense has been so incredibly bad, can you give all football fans a sense of how much of a difference maker you think Hendrickson could be if he winds up on, I don't know, the Cowboys or someplace like that?
Listen, in our league, the hard thing is this past year, Trey Hendrickson only played in 7 games. He was dealing with injury. The prior 2 years before that, no one had more sacks in the NFL than Trey Hendrickson. So when you talk about getting after the quarterback, he's somebody that can make a huge impact. You mentioned the Cowboys. I'll throw another team out there. What about the Los Angeles Rams? They have some young pass rushers that they're going to have to pay at some point. But Trey Hendrickson, 31 years old, a guy that maybe you can give a 3-year deal to, give him some money to come in and be a part of that pass rush when you're putting points up on the offensive side of the ball.
Who was Trey Hendrickson's defensive coordinator in Cincinnati when he shot?
Lou Anarumo.
Where is he right now?
Indianapolis.
Whoa, hold on. So if you save money in Indianapolis, you save
That's Windhorst. He's doing the Windhorst.
You then could go use it on another player, right? That would be interesting.
So what you're telling us, again, if you're going to do the windy, the fingers have to go back and forth like this. So what you're telling me is that the Colts transition tag Daniel Jones rather than franchise tag him, save that money and use that money to spend it on
I'm not
Trey
trying
Hendrickson.
They would use it on a player, and I would think that Trey Hendrickson would be one of those options in play.
I like it a lot. Now we got running backs to talk about. The first of them I'm leaning a little closer to hear from you. The first one of them is Breece Hall.
Listen, they have been trying to get a deal done, a long-term deal done for Breece Hall with the New York Jets. They have not succeeded so far. I do not expect a deal done by the 4 o'clock window today for the deadline, which means the Jets are expected to tag Breece Hall by that point in time. My guess is, Greeny, that they'll put the franchise tag on him and not risk losing Breece Hall in free agency. As for the Seattle Seahawks and their Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Walker, who also is scheduled to become a free agent. The Seahawks have until 4 o'clock today to make a decision on whether to tag Walker, transition or franchise. My sense around the league is that it is unlikely that the Seahawks will tag Kenneth Walker, in which case he would become an unrestricted free agent, one of the top players available in the free agent market, free to go wherever he wants without any compensation, going back to Seattle, no offer sheets, no nothing. But it looks like he may be allowed the opportunity. I would think he's going to be allowed the opportunity to leave Seattle. You don't see that very often was somebody that meant that much to a team.
Yeah.
Super Bowl MVP. I mean, Larry Brown left as a
Malcolm
Super Bowl
Smith,
MVP.
I think, right?
Malcolm Smith, the linebacker, left. But Kenneth Walker was a focal point of their offense, and they have Zach Charbonnet coming up for torn ACL. So they're going to have to address the running back market somehow if and when Kenneth Walker leaves.
And so Breece Hall, if he becomes on the running back market, and Kenneth Walker, who we're now saying we expect to be on the running back market, what teams are expected to be in on this?
Kenneth Walker's an interesting one. He's hired a new agent right before the playoff run, so that was striking gold at the right time. You would think if he's a free agent, he has a Super Bowl MVP. The market will be ripe, and I will tell you, Seattle could still be very much involved in this, even if they don't franchise tag him. They would just want to negotiate as a free agent. The other two teams, obviously, everyone's throwing around are the Giants and the Chiefs, but I'll give you another one. The Denver Broncos are a team to watch in the Kenneth Walker sweepstakes. The Denver Broncos, who have an excellent defense, excellent special teams, and R.J. Harvey as a young running back. That would be one of those yin and yang, put those guys together type deals, thunder and lightning. Kenneth Walker will have a market.
It's interesting to me because in the NBA, the draft happens and then the free agency happens. In the NFL, it's the reverse. Someone's going to draft Jeremiah Love.
Yeah.
That team doesn't need one of these guys, but they don't know.
Can't bank on that.
Kansas City, for example, can't count on him being there at number 9.
And the names we're mentioning, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, these guys are going to be at the top of the running back market. So I think when you talk about value for these teams, a Kansas City Chiefs who have drafted number 9 in the draft, what value are you putting at that running back spot? Do you want to pay a guy $10+ million in free agency, or would you rather wait and take your chances on a guy like Jeremiah Love?
Final word.
A lot of great running backs. Breece Hall, I think, you brought up Denver. His former running backs coach is in Denver. That would have been a logical fit. That may result in the take. But Breece Hall's not getting out of New York.
Yeah.
He'll be tagged later this afternoon.
Okay, well, I'm not sure if that's good news or bad news for him, but one way or the other, we will continue on this. It's a huge day in the NFL. Big night coming up in the NBA as well. We'll get to that. A.J. Brown saga, I should mention, no signs of slowing down. What are the Eagles?